Alright, so far I have introduced how to solve quadratic equations, right? In this video, I want to talk about using the technique of factoring and the zero product property to solve polynomial equations. Okay, a polynomial equation is an equation that looks like this. One side of the equation, is a polynomial, and the other side is a zero. Quadratic equation is one kind of a polynomial equations. So when we solve a polynomial equation, here are the steps we should follow. So the first step is to write the equation into this form. So make sure the other side of the equation is 0. And the step 2 is to factor the polynomial using appropriate method, okay? Using appropriate techniques, which we learned in section 5, okay? And then after you factor the polynomial, in step 3, we solve the equation using this property. Okay, so again, first, after a given equation, you write the equation into this form, okay, and then use the technique we learned before to factor this polynomial. After you factor the polynomial, we use the zero product property to solve the equation. Okay, now let me use some examples to illustrate this method. Okay, let's see. Here we have an equation x to the third equals 8. Let me first do the step 1, which I wanna bring the 8 to the left. Okay. Now the step 1 is the easiest one. Now let's look at the step 2. Now the step 2, for most time, the step 2 is the most difficult part, because here you want to think about how can we factor this polynomial. So how to factor this polynomial x to the third minus 8. Now if you still remember, for this polynomial, because this is a difference of 2 cubes, so we can factor this into x minus 2. Okay, and x squared plus 2x plus 2 squared. If you forgot about this formula, you may want to go back to watch my previous videos from section 5. So the formula like this: when you have a cubed minus b cubed, you can factor this into a minus b, and times a squared plus ab plus b squared. And if you have a sum of 2 cubes, you can factor this into a plus b times a squared minus ab plus b squared. Remember, we said the difference between these two formulas are the signs, right? And then we can use this method SOAP to remember the order of the signs, because it's always the same, opposite, always be positive, right? The same, the opposite, always be positive, right? The same, right? Both of them are plus. the opposite, right? And always be positive. Okay, now once we factor x cubed minus 8 into this way, now go back to our equation. The left-hand side of our equation becomes this way, right? So we have two factors. One is x minus 2. Another one is x squared plus 2x plus 4 equals 0. Now in step 3, we're gonna solve these equations using the zero product property. Since the product of these two factors equals 0, therefore we have x minus 2 equals 0, or we have x squared plus 2x plus 4 equals 0. Now you see, we start with a polynomial equation, and then we break this equation into two equations. One is a linear equation, another one is a quadratic equation, right? So this linear equation is very easy. The solution is 2. To solve this quadratic equation, let's see, if I use a quadratic formula, so A is 1, B equals 2, C equals 4. And so x equals negative b plus minus b squared minus 4ac over the 2a. So therefore, x equals negative 2 plus minus 2 squared minus 4 times 1 times 4 over 2 times 1. Okay, so that gives me negative 2 plus minus 2 squared is 4, and 4 times 4 is 16 over 2. Okay, now let's see. So that equals negative 2 plus minus negative 12 over 2. Right? So the square root of negative 12 we can write as I times the square root of 12. Okay, and again, if you forgot about this, how to do this, you want to watch the videos from complex numbers, okay? And then next, we simplify the square root of 12, so we can have I times 2 times the square root of 3 over 2. So we have negative 2 over 2 plus minus I times 2 times the square root of 3 over 2. So we have negative 1 plus minus I times the square root of 3. Okay, so this quadratic equation has two solutions, right? And this linear equation has one solution. Therefore, the equation x cubed minus 8 equals 0 has three solutions. And they are x equals 2, x equals negative 1 plus I times the square root of 3, and x equals negative 1 minus I times the square root of 3.